I knew I was having a heart attack, and I was in a clenched ball, and I'm out. Next thing I know, I'm being pulled towards this light, and it's like everything disappears around me. And next thing I know, I'm in a galaxy of stars, and a humongous light is pulling me, and the light turns into an angel. She's humongous. I mean, I gotta say 10, 12 feet, maybe even more, hovering above me, and I feel like it was just her and I felt this enormous sense of love, unconditional love.
I'm here today with Laura Lee. Laura, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have this time with you.
Well, thank you, Tia, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine. Laura, you have had a special gift or special gifts your whole life. You walked with spirits, you were able to speak with them and communicate with them and see them. And that wasn't widely accepted in your upbringing, which led you to actually have a near-death experience. Can you walk me through how that happens?
Well, I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. But when I was a little child, and I think this is the case for a lot of children out there, I was very sensitive in the fact that I could have a sense of feeling somebody was with me in the room, uh, perhaps touching me on the head or the arm. You know, I could feel their presence there. I could smell their presence sometimes if they had alcohol in their breath or they smoked or a perfume. I could see them on occasion too. And it was very frightening as a child. And I was scared to death. So I would lay underneath my covers as flat as a pancake with a little breathing hole like this. So I could just breathe because I wanted to pretend I wasn't there. I tried to pretend I was dead. Isn't that silly? So that I wouldn't be bothered. And lights were always on. I just couldn't sleep with the in the dark. You know, it seemed as if the light would prohibit their invitation more so. And so, fast forward, I would was very much involved in uh, group Sunday sessions for at church and going to church with both of my grandparents. My grandparents were very much religious, and one's Protestant, one was Catholic. So I was very much involved in the study of, religion and being in growing up Christian. My parents, though, had decided just to inform us, but were not actively practicing because their families came from different backgrounds. So, but my grandparents were very enforced those studies upon us as well. So I remember bringing it up in church in one of my Sunday school practices that I was having these experiences, and they told me not to talk about it. And that was blasphemous. That doesn't happen, and that you could be talking to something that's other than spiritual entities, and as leading to demonic presences. And, I was scared by it anyway. So that just reinforced it. Right. And then, as I started to become more open about it in the home, and women in our family did talk openly, like so and so would bite me, came to me last night and I heard them say blah, blah, blah. But it was more or less through dreams, or at least that's how they relate it. Okay. And then, but again, I was told not to really speak about it openly because it would be frowned upon, especially in our communities, because of what and where we grew up, or where I grew up was in the Midwest, and it was a very conservative area. And so this was very difficult for me, and I wanted to shut it down as much as possible. So about the age of 9, I had a friend who I looked up to, that I thought was an older sister like, because I was the oldest in my family. And so I valued everything she said to me and trusted implicitly in her guidance. And she handed me a pill one day and said that to take it. And I said, why? And she says, because it'll keep you thin and boys will like you. And I didn't care about boys at that time. I was 9 years old. Okay. And I thought, okay, she knows because she's got a boyfriend. So I took it and we were very close. So she became my drug supplier. And I became the junkie and I started taking them and I realized I got a buzz and it was uh, a diet pill. And that buzz created more confusion and it kept me hyper and it allowed me to dissipate the feelings that I was experiencing on a regular basis. And that became my focus then. And it escalated into an eating disorder. And I think a lot of people, and I'm going to say this out there, put this out there. I think a lot of people who are extra sensitive will have a addiction of something to distract them from what's really going on around them. So that catapulted and snowballed into something larger. And by the time I knew I was like bulimic, I was forcing myself to purge everything in addition to taking the diet pills. And I became obsessive with it. And that took more control of my life. And I would say a decade into it, I'm losing my hair, losing my teeth, bowel problems, stomach, heart issues all the time, palpitations, a total wreck. Freshman year in college, I get in there and I can't handle it. I am always crying when I'm getting to the point of purging, and I am at a breaking point. And one night I decided to stay home from school and or stay home from going out, and the rest of my friends went out and I did a purging session so I could be alone. And I became a master of doing it because I could do it when in the presence of other people and not let them hear me doing my purging. And I cried out and said, I need help. And it was the first time I asked for help from God. And I collapsed on the floor, holding my heart and feeling like I was going to have a heart attack. And I knew I was having a heart attack, and I was in a clenched ball, and I'm out. Next thing I know, I'm being pulled towards this light, and it's like everything disappears around me. And next thing I know, I'm in a galaxy of stars, and a humongous light is pulling me, and the light turns into an angel. She's humongous. I mean, I gotta say 10, 12 feet, maybe even more, hovering above me. And I feel like it was just her and I. And I felt this enormous sense of love, unconditional love. And she talked to me telepathically and told me she heard my call for help and that I was going to heal as long as I understood that I'm going to go back and I was going to share with others how, the only thing that's really valuable and important is love. And I was perfect the way I was.
Did the angel feel familiar to you?
Absolutely. I wasn't scared. I felt, like I said, just enveloped in this love that, and I've shared this with so many other people. I'd say, Are you a mother, Tia?"
I am.
So the closest I've gotten to it is maybe the feeling I had when I had my daughter. So, but it's beyond a romantic love that we can experience on earth. But it is here among earth. And it's my understanding that's all there is. And our filter sees horrendous and pain and suffering, and it is. But we are completely enveloped in this love, and we're supported in so many ways. And anyway, she told me I was going to come back and I would heal immediately, and that I would go on and share this with other people, and that again, I'm perfect the way I am. So I wake up and I go through my healing journey. I go home and I actually step away from school for a short while to go through some support groups and get help through doctors and everything. But the most important key that came out of it is when I returned back to school, one of my closest friends at the time handed me a book by Leo Biscaglia, and it was titled Love. And Leo was a professor at, I think, one of the big universities out in California. Maybe it was UCLA or USC. At any rate, he wrote the book as a dedication to students, and one his opening chapter is about one of his students, and it was a girl who committed, because I was on the verge of it. I was myself slowly, and I knew it was a sign from my angel that what she said was true. And then I started seeing that all my experiences up to that point in time were a gift. It was a gift that I was supposed to use.
Do you feel like you had planned this out in your pre-birth somehow so that you could unveil your gifts to the world?
I definitely believe we are all come here with a mission, and we have to figure out what that is. And I think it's right in front of us. It's always it's always within us, but it's always something that we resist, and we don't want to acknowledge, and we think is worthless. But it is a blessing in disguise. And I was in school at that time, and everybody in my family was go get your education, go get a good job, and do the 9 to 5 thing, right? So, which I did, but I went into communications. I knew exactly I was supposed to go into communications at that point in time, business communications. So I did, and my journey started that way. So I think I think yes, there's a mission and a plan that is definitely organized, and it's not just for me, it's for everybody.
I think I resonate with that so much, with learning through pain and having blessings being buried inside of trauma and having to dig them out like you had. That makes a lot of sense to me. And so this angel of yours, do you still have access to her, direct
Oh,
communication?
100%, 100%. And I've gotten to develop a relationship one-on-one since that point in time. And I teach people how to connect with their guardian angels. And I do it on a regular basis in my private practice to connect people with their guardians and their dearly departed, as you know.
How did this experience change your life?
Well, drastically, like I said, I came back to school and I was floundering at the time of my freshman year. And I mean, I was crying that I didn't want to be there. Okay. And I get back, and immediately I pick up, into my field of focus. And I didn't understand what communications, because I knew I was supposed to go out and communicate, but I went into communications. I got a job at the local newspaper, at the school newspaper. And then my first internship was with Disney, so it's communications. And then as I started to develop and I started to get more comfortable even with myself, it's like I started to realize I was having these experiences and I started sharing with family and friends openly. I started speaking my truth. So, and I didn't care. So that was a big difference. But I went into the field of communications, and marketing, business communications, and then eventually transitioned over doing this, because it was such a big wham for my family. But eventually I got to the place where it doesn't matter about anybody else. What matters is me, because this is my life and what fulfills me, and being on mission or being on your life path, you just know it. You feel it right here in your heart, as you have discovered yourself.
Did you find that your family was more accepting of your experiences now?
Well, when they started to hear me on radio and started to see me speaking around the country, they were like, well, and they started to embrace it. Now they're my biggest fans. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about what you're doing now to help others.
Well, when I finally decided to leave and walk away from corporate, and it was a strong pull for me to go west. And somebody had heard me speaking on a circuit, and I was talking about angels, and I was doing readings for audiences. And they hooked me up with a DJ on a radio station. It was called K-Big by Clear Channel Communications. The company was Clear Channel Communications. And the show was called Angels in Waiting on
Wow.
K-Big in LA. Get this. And all I did was 3 hours straight is answer callers and give them, who is connecting with them, their dearly departed, and sharing the information with the callers. And that's how I started. So I knew I was being pulled in that direction. And it just was, it's miraculous. Once you start really listening to your heart and following it, I mean, things just unfold, and it's a confirmation to what you already knew deep within your soul.
Yeah, I feel like when you have a calling and you start moving in that direction, the doors just fly open for you and you just keep walking through them. And what more confirmation could you have than the signs that you were given with the just the name, Clear Channel
Communications,
Communications,
which is
right?
a huge media company at the time. They've been bought out now, but the show itself was Angels in Waiting, and I was connecting callers to their dearly departed. And I've been doing that for years. So it's just interesting how it unfolds.
It definitely is. So these gifts that you brought back with you, or that actually you were born with, did they intensify after your experience?
I don't think they intensified. I got healthier. Yes, they did intensify because I got healthier, and I realized taking care of my body was the utmost importance, because it's a gift. Your life is a gift. And I realized when I came back, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is miraculous. And everything was brighter and more vibrant and brilliant. And it was like I had a new lease on life. And I realized that, started exercising my body. I started eating right. I started really concentrating on my health. And then your gifts get stronger. So intuition, when you say psychic, a lot of people, there's a lot of negative connotations to the word psychic, but it's really just intuition. It's just another word. And some are more tuned in than others. And the way to tune in is to take care of the body, and your intuition starts to go up, and it's hyper focused. And that's what I discovered. It became more prevalent in my life again once I stopped beating myself up emotionally, mentally, and physically, which I had been doing for over a decade.
Would you say that it was loving yourself?
100%, because it is all up. So you got to start within in order to experience it without. It's all about love. Yes.
I love that you are able to connect with people through the radio and give them readings. Can you tell me how does that information come to you? How do you sense it?
For every spirit, it's different, as it is with working with one-on-one with different people. Some are more talkative, which is comes through thoughts, and that's called clairaudient. Okay, which you can hear them clearly. Some are more clairvoyant. They show me images, just like we would if we had a daydream. The only difference between me and anybody else is I've learned to trust it. Okay, so they sometimes come through with a feeling and impose it upon me. Like I can tell if where somebody's had a physical trauma, or if they've had something happen with their heart, or I can smell, get a good scent of them, and I can relay that. I'm very sensitive to smoke. And so if you hear my show, you'll hear me say that a lot with some people, or I can, and then I relay what I'm receiving to the persons and that I'm speaking to on the other end. And then I give them what I receive. And that's how it works.
Is there a way that people can develop their own intuitive abilities? You said the only difference between you and others is that you've learned to trust yourself. So, this is something that anyone can have access to?
Absolutely, because we are all one. We are all one. The separation is a mind trip, literally. It's our ego trying to keep us separate. And I know that goes out there a lot in the universe with a lot of people hearing that kind of talk, but it is so true. We're all one. So that means we're also one with the creator, and we're one with the divine. We're children of the divine creators, God, whatever you want to call it. And as a result of that, we can connect with one another. It's a unlimited field of energy that can be exchanged between all of us. And so psychic, intuitive impressions that we receive, we're more responsive to it with individuals if we drop down our shields. Or drop down our shields are, any fears. A lot of people are fearful of these experiences or having experiences with spirit because it's the unknown, and it's scary. It's closest. It's death. So public speaking is the number one fear out there, but death is second. So having a relationship with a spirit in the spirit world is just too mind-blowing to a lot of people. And it's scary. And it doesn't help that the media out there likes to capitalize on it for a buck, and portrays it as a horror film.
Yeah, our culture is not very accepting of death. Any kind of conversations around death, death is a taboo subject. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And a lot of religions create fear in people over death because they feel they're going to be punished, or there's going to be some sort of negative experience for mistakes that we've made as humans. Does that resonate with you?
No, we are 100% loved no matter what. And the ones who are creating the chaos out there, and there's quite a few of them, okay, they've forgotten who they are, and they're lost souls. And in the sense that if they're going out there and causing harm to themselves and causing harm to other people, they're misguided. That's all. And but we're loved no matter what.
Nothing to fear, including death.
No, no. And we always have a helping hand no matter what, but a lot of people forget to ask, and support's always around us. We always have the support around us. It's whether or not we're ready and willing to take the hand. whether it's from this side or the other side. So let's say if somebody commits suicide and goes to the other side, they could still be in the state of mind. Everything's about a state of mind. If you think it's hell here, you might think it's hell there. Do you get what I'm saying? So I don't see hellfire, though, that we've been taught. I see that, they might be in a state of confusion, but everybody is loved and held and dearly 100% of the time. And we have a support system that's accessible to us, but we've got to invite them in. We have to ask them to participate. So that was eye-opening for me at the age of 17, 18, when I asked and invited support in.
How can we do that? Ask for the help and the support.
Call it out. Just say, please help. Please. But the next big problem is, when it comes, will you accept it? Will you take the hand? Will you take the opportunity when it comes? But we are so burdened by the day-to-day heavy stuff that oftentimes people will miss the opportunity. It'll go under the radar for them, or it'll look scary, and their mind will get in there and they'll talk themselves out of it. That's what I find from working with students over the years, and even my own journey, my own personal journey from the years I've learned, and sharing this information with other people. And I'm still learning. We've got such a far way to go as a species.
You had these gifts as a young child. Do you think children are closer to the other side or more accepting of the gifts?
Yes, children aren't burdened by the day-to-day. They are open, they're playful, they are always looking at things in wonderment. And that's the state we have to get back to be open and receptive to spirit. And the children, they'll start closing it down when they have adults telling them that's not real. There's no such thing as ghost. But an open communicative parent would help that child be open and more developing of those skill sets. And it doesn't mean that that kid's going to grow up and be a psychic, God forbid, okay? But that kid could apply it to any area in their lives. I've had worked with doctors and nurses and therapists and even stockbrokers through helping them develop their skill sets. It doesn't matter what you go on to do, even artists. And those skill sets can be applicable to just about anything. Surviving in life, thriving.
What inspired you to be of service to others in order to help others realize who they are and to develop their abilities and their gifts and your mediumship abilities? That's very inspiring as well.
Well, I think it goes back to just diving into, and like I said, after coming back through that experience in my late teens, and then getting involved and getting into the real world with it, and applying it to the real world, and seeing where I wanted to put my attention at. I didn't want to support a corporation that was focused more on profits than supporting the people in the highest order. And when I started seeing it that way, I started realizing, okay, I'm going to use the gifts, which I was already utilizing and sharing with people around me freely. I'm going to use this gift in this capacity instead of serving a corporation, of helping them and using it to share it with people and helping them for the higher good of all. That's where I came from, that center, to inspire, empower people about love. And that's what I was told when I was up there with the angel.
You talk about oneness and love.
Yes.
That is something I think is most near death experiences come back with the knowledge of or the wisdom of oneness. But it's something that I find difficult to grasp. Can you give me like an analogy? How can I think about this oneness to better understand? Because I've not been there, and I think a lot of my viewers, we can imagine or I guess conceptualize what the oneness is, but to feel what it might feel like is a little more difficult.
It would be like all of us in the ocean together, and we're just a drop of water in the ocean together, and we're moving together. So that's the consciousness. Our consciousness is moving together. So coming up onto the shore and, going back out, coming back up to the shore, but we're all doing it together. And so that's the closest image I think I can give, where we're all one and whole in that regard. And so knowing that we are all one, I know that's profound, that's so big, and that is shared in our network and our community. It's just that it is when you when you know you're part of that wholeness, you start to realize that the golden rule is so powerful that when you give out to somebody, you're going to get it back. So you want to serve in the highest order with the intention, and the intention that you're serving the higher good, because then it will come back in the higher good for you, because it's all one with you. You wouldn't want to use the gifts in a way that would harm somebody. So it's hard for me to hear that there are people out there who talk about how we're taking advantage of people. And I'm not walking up to anybody and telling them on the street that I've got their loved one with them. I wait for people to come to me, when they're ready. And it helps some people and helps not other people. And I'm not here to make anybody believe. I don't care about making anybody believe. If somebody wants to experience, then they can experience it. If I can help heal them, then all the more better. But I'm doing that exchange with them because I feel I've got to use it, because if I don't use it, then I might, I, I I think when we don't use our gifts, we start to dive down and we'll have a struggle in life. We struggle and we are suppressed and we fall. We have to live our gifts in order to thrive in life at our highest good, whatever that gift is that you've been blessed with. Maybe it's a singing voice, maybe it's an artistic skill, and you might have more than one, and it's incorporating all of them together and living from that space the best you can. So that oneness is, and it fits in to everybody else where it's supposed to, your gift. So that's the oneness. It's you're doing your part in the world that you came here to do.
I
That's the
love that. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Because if we are doing good, the good is going to come back. That's just something that near death experiencers feel that they come back knowing that everything you put out there comes back to you. And that helps explain the oneness that we're all one. When you do something good or you do something bad, you're actually doing that to yourself. And the other thing I like about that too is you were talking about your gift and how everyone is gifted. And I think a lot of people think that it has to be a clairvoyance or clairsentience or whatever. But someone once told me recently that maybe their gift or their purpose on earth is just to be a good friend, to be a good listener, and it doesn't have to be this, almost supernatural ability. It can just be, it is just being you. Whatever you bring to the world, you're good at. You can be a good friend, a good mother, a good cook, you know,
100%. Oh, absolutely. I think we all have our own niche, and we definitely share in different ways. I mean, I don't even think I could compare myself with some of the others out there. It is very unique. And then also, I am not, I'm giving a message that sometimes blows people away because they aren't expecting me to dive into an issue that they're dealing with. And it's coming from the spirit world. And it's not always just to say hello to a loved one, but it's also to help them find some answers or guidance about an issue that they're coping with.
I found that in with some medium friends that I've done readings with, or that they've done readings for me, is it's not just a message from my loved one, but a message from the other side in general to help me live my life in a better way, or to say,
Absolutely.
work on this. You need to
Yes.
work on this.
Yes, because it's not about death. It's really about life and helping people live it and get out of that state to help them move from a state of grief into the state of grace. And like I said, sometimes it works for some people and sometimes it doesn't. Some people need a regular counselor, but spiritual advisors such as myself, I think, serve a certain part of the population that help them in a different place and time that maybe a regular licensed therapist couldn't do. Not saying that their practice is any less or more. We're just different.
And you say it's not about death, it's about life. So I like to dig a little deeper, just a little deeper into that. And is death really just an illusion? As the dying experience, the dying don't die. Is that
No,
correct?
it's a myth. No, they're right here alongside of us. They're in another dimension. Life continues on. It really does. It's a cycle of life. And I often find that in my own experiences of working with family members, that usually you'll see a death happen in the family around the same time a birth is happening. And oftentimes it could be the same spirit. And oftentimes when people say, well, I'm going to give a namesake to this child of the loved one who just passed over, and then they'll say, this kid's growing up just like their loved one who crossed over, that's because it probably is. So they come back in another form and there to continue the journey with the family unit in order to learn love. That's all we're here to really learn is love. And the veil to me, which I don't know if you've ever heard of the veil, Tia, right, is simply just fear. It's fear. And so it blocks us from receiving the beautiful connection that we could have with our loved ones that make us comfortable in knowing that we're never separated. I mean, a lot of people feel that in their heart and do experience on momentary basis, a brief connection with their loved ones. But to know that they're supported, they're loved, they're totally taken care of no matter what, and they're always waiting for us, okay, and they're there by our side and walking through the journey with us always.
And on that note, do you believe that we have soul families that we stick around with?
Oh yeah, yeah, I was just saying, yes, the soul family's for real, yes. And we can go through these experiences together so that we can see and experience. We are spiritual beings having human experiences, and Tia and Laura are only here for this amount of time. What are we going to do with it? How are you going to make the most of it during your lifetime, whether being a good friend or being a friend who's going to decide all of a sudden, hey, I'm no longer going to have a relationship with you and ghost you. Okay. Or how are you going to be more compassionate to that person and, find a way to communicate and, find a way to be more compassionate to friends who might need your support in a way that, you would have to grow and develop instead of walking away. And I'm saying that because that seems to be a trend right now. And I'm hearing it from my teenage daughter. So,
So, for people to find their purpose, what do you recommend? What is a step that they can take towards walking on their path?
what is it you love? Bottom line, what is it your mind keeps going to? I want to do this. I want to write that book. I want to start that podcast. I want to go help as a hospice supporter volunteer. Okay. And you just feel that call and it's consistent and it's persistent and it's gentle and it continues to surface. And you see the message 3 times or more. That's a message from the heavens. That's divine guidance. That's how it comes. And you just always reminded. Somebody tells you something, you're like, oh yeah, I want to do that. Or somebody comes in your life and they're doing it, and you're going, oh, I always wanted to do that. Well, do it. Those are the things you do. So it's something so simple as that.
And we like to complicate it so much. And it
We
could be
do.
just standing, sitting, staring us in the face.
And it's usually because of a block, because you're thinking, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't have the tools, I don't have the education, I'm not young enough, I'm not old enough. It all circles around that. Money always seems to be an issue.
I love the way that you describe how we can find our purpose and how we can live a deeper, more meaningful, and fulfilling life in service to others. I feel like it always has something to do with being in service to others. Like, you said, whether it's being a friend or writing a book or being a medium, whatever it is, it's always for others.
It is. It is, but it's also because a lot of people say, well, I think it's selfish for me to sit here and spend time going to play at the park. Or it's selfish for me to take time out and, to go draw. Or selfish for me to take time when I have to be making money. I mean, because we're in a society, we're in a group consciousness that is go get your education. If not get your education, go get a job, work 9 to 5. And despite not liking it, killing yourself to achieve what society perceives as success in our culture. And that's where our ego has to get out of the way and go, "Ugh, but that's not where I'm happy. I'm not happy doing that." And, happiness is also a state. And, but you've got to follow your heart 100%. The heart is much bigger than just an organ that keeps us alive. It is an intuitive instrument. It is the primary tool and resource for really navigating into the direction that you're supposed to be. So always follow the love. Always follow the love. Always follow the love. So I love doing this. I love doing yoga. I love hiking. I don't love weightlifting. Then don't weightlift. Do the yoga. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's the same. I love chocolate. Eat chocolate, but everything in moderation. Okay. But
And that goes back to what you were saying about your gifts intensifying when you learned how to love yourself.
love
You
itself.
learned how
Yes.
to take care of your body. Then your gifts intensified. So
Yes.
it's, yes, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to do the things that are meaningful for us and go play at the playground, whatever it is, draw, whatever it is that makes you happy. And I love that you accentuate that we need to take care of ourselves as well, because it's a full picture. The entire thing has to be taken care of. Our service to others wouldn't be as valuable if we weren't whole.
Of course, because if you aren't taking care of yourself, and that's where I find a lot of us trip up as service providers, is not taking care of ourselves or making the time for ourselves. And I can say that as a mom too, because as women, we're told to give up our lives in service and to lay down, let everybody walk on us, and give too much. But we definitely have to make room and time for ourselves as women. I have to say that to the females out there because of our culture. Again, we overextend ourselves, but to take that time out for ourselves to really be able to give back, because you can only love others and share with others when you are filled with the love yourself. So I was able then to turn it around once I started to give it to myself and turn around and give it back in a way that filled others because I was already filled myself.
They say you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Right, right,
That's
right.
beautiful. And
Yes.
if my viewers wanted to reach out to you, they wanted to listen or call into your radio show, how can they find you?
Well, they can go to radio medium Laura Lee, all one word, .com, or you can put in psychicmediumlauralee.com, but radio medium lauralee.com, where they can find out more information about the radio show, which is Monday through Wednesday at 8 a.m. And you can stream it from anywhere in the world if you aren't in the listening area up by Chicago. And then also we have the podcast on every favorite forum, Radio Medium Laura Lee. So subscribe to the podcast and you can hear it there as well, Monday through Friday.
Great. And they can call in.
They can sign up to call in. And I also have private sessions for people who don't want to be on public, on air, which I totally get. I have my private sessions still with people, and I also am available to work with people to develop their own skill sets for whatever goal they have, whether or not they want to be a medium or they just want to be able to connect with their loved ones themselves, to which to me is 10 times more powerful than having a intermediary medium communicating on their behalf.
I'll link your information, your contact information down below, so anyone who's interested can just easily find you by clicking on the links. And do you have any last words of wisdom for my viewers?
I hope that by listening from beginning to end, that the big takeaway is to listen to your heart and follow it as your North Star. And it always knows, the heart always knows. And that's how our guardians speak to us, our guardian angels. That's where they guide us, is right here. So pay attention to it and listen to it, and your life will be miraculous.
That is so beautiful. Thank you. And so wise. Thank you again, Laura, for joining me. It's been such a blessing to me to spend this time with you and pick your brain. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near-death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.